Well, hello everybody. It's Jack Cox, author of Love Not Fear, and my usual co-host is back, Paul Simon Smith, who's been away for a few days. Paul,
Hello.
who runs Nutrient Nirvana, the excellent supplement company. So, excuse me, everybody. I've got a bit of a cold today, so I've not been taking his supplements. That's why. So just bear with me a little bit today. I'm going to be just a little bit croaky. So, what you been up to, Paul?
What have I been up to? My channel's been getting busier and busier, which is good. I've recently interviewed Ralph Ellis, author and researcher on the Ukraine conflict and the Garden of Eden.
I'll put the links below.
Yeah, cheers, mate. The Garden of Eden and the chronological chasm, as he calls it. I'm speaking to Maria Wheatley on Thursday, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, because I've followed her for years and years. She's the country's leading authority on dowsing and earth energies. She's done a lot of work at Stonehenge and Avebury. Made quite a few discoveries, so that should be a really, really good interview. I'm really looking forward to that. And outside of that, I've been over the allotment, planting me onions and garlic and shallots, red potatoes are all in. Still a bit of digging to do, but I'm almost there now, so that's going really well. How's your community garden going?
Well, we're starting. I've been off for the last 2 or 3 days. I haven't been there because I've not been well.
Probably.
But we had a digger up there and scraped the top.
Oh, okay.
And we got most of the bramble roots out now.
That's good.
So yeah, we're ready to start. They're just waiting for me to lay out the beds with string,
Right.
and then we can start putting some seeds in the ground.
Brilliant. Okay.
And we got people starting seeds indoors, so it'll give us a bit of a head start.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So you're going down the permaculture route, is that right?
Yes and no. It's planned for the second year. I think we can't get enough compost for the first year.
Yeah.
We've just had a whole lot of compost delivered.
Yeah.
And it's not fully rotted.
Right.
So that's for next year.
Mm. And are you all like saving all your compost, all your kitchen scraps as well? And
well, I am.
Well, let's hope the others are, because it soon mounts up. Plus, you can just get loads of leaves and stuff, from the woods or whatever, and chuck that in as well.
Well, one of my lads is a chef, works in a local pub, so he brings quite a lot.
That's good.
So he's very reliable.
Brilliant.
But trying to get them all organised, and of course the ladies want a toilet, don't they, on site?
Yeah. Yes.
I was in the middle of building them a toilet when I got taken bad. So
point to a bucket when they ask you, mate. Just point to a bucket.
Well, that's all they're getting, but they're getting at least they're getting a wall around it.
Yeah.
A wall of pallets.
Brilliant.
So they have a little bit of privacy.
Yeah, of course.
And there's a great big factory behind us which casts half the land into shadow, so we can only use half of it effectively.
Yeah.
And I've done the toilet right at the back with the entrance facing the factory.
Right.
So I don't have to put a door on it because nobody can see in. So they just got a whistle. I don't know whether the bee is coming on tonight. I hope she does.
Yeah.
But she's away with her family, so she may not. But in honour of the bee, I'm wearing a colourful T-shirt.
I had noticed the T-shirt, mate.
She's told me I've got to stop wearing those jackets.
Why?
They're
too
big for me. She just says they're too big for me, and they're too mono colour. So
okay,
I've got to liven the show up a little bit. So I'm going to get some more of these T-shirts.
Well, you've done that this week. What is it? A picture of your T-shirt, by the way? I'm trying to make it out there.
Oh, it's not really of anything. It's sort of flames and
stuff. Yeah. Okay.
I wore the yellow one on Friday.
Yeah.
Just one thing I want to share with you and with everybody else. As of next week, we'll have a new cover photograph, cover image. What do you think of that?
I like it, but where's Colin?
Who's Colin?
The turkey that was on my head.
Oh, he flew off.
Oh, really?
He flew off. I couldn't keep it. I couldn't catch him in time.
That's a shame. Oh well.
He went in the pot.
That was taken outside a pub, so he's probably inside the pub having a drink.
Well, I thought it'd be better to try to get our eyes on the same level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I've done that for next week, and not in time for this week. So you were telling me about this excellent TV show.
Yes, so it was at the start of the very first lockdown in 2020. Seems like about 20 years ago now. That I just stumbled across this drama TV series that was made in 1975. That's the year I was born. And it was called Survivors. I think it was made by ITV, and it was based on a virus outbreak. And the outbreak first occurred in China, and that grabbed my attention straight away because of what was happening at the time. And it kind of shows a group of people, how they all meet up and they all sort of band together to try and build a community, to make things work and to build the new earth. And this is why I kind of told you about it. I told lots of people about it at the start of the lockdown, but I don't think anyone bothered to watch it. But it's brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic. It was really well written. I think the creators of the program was Terry Nation, who did Doctor Who and Blake Seven. And yeah, it's about 30 episodes, 2 series, and it's fantastically well written and researched. The acting's good, the stories are brilliant. Every episode is really good to watch. They don't make him like that anymore, mate, unfortunately.
No, they don't.
And I can't recommend it enough. If you like a bit of retro TV drama, this is right up your street. It's really, really, really good.
I will put the links below, but if you just look up Survivors 1975 TV drama, I think, something like that.
It's on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
And you've got it. You've got it. I've been binge watching it for the last 2 nights. I'm up to episode 13 or 14.
Blimey, mate. Brilliant.
So,
brilliant. They are really addictive, aren't they? As well, they always end on a sort of a cliffhanger. And like I say, they're so well written and well thought out. And it really kind of made me think of your book. I can't remember if I read your book first or watched the documentary first. Now, it was around the same sort of time, but it really did bring your book to mind an awful lot. And perhaps, if I might say so, it also warned of the dangers of being in that situation, or in a situation where you're trying to create something new, something better, a new system. And it kind of highlighted the pitfalls and the problems that would happen in that kind of a scenario.
Well, what brought it home to me were the people back then, and I did actually. I mean, I'm an old git. You said you were born that year. I remember actually watching it when it first came out. But it's still worth watching it again.
Yeah.
I've forgotten all the stories now. The people in that series were caught completely unawares. They were completely caught out. Now, hopefully, if people read my book and follow other people who are doing similar work, we've got to be prepared before it happens. I mean, it may not be a virus. It could be an asteroid. It could be absolutely anything. Most likely, it's just going to be government collapse and banks collapse.
Let's hope so.
I don't think millions and millions and millions and millions and millions are going to die. I mean, in that series, sort of 99.7% died.
Yeah, it's the opposite of the one we've just had.
99.7%, 99.7% survived.
Yeah.
So, and that was only the ones infected.
Mm.
So, but I mean, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here. I mean, far be it from me.
A bit late for that, I was going to say, yeah.
Far be it from me. But they've been chucking things at us every year, well, every few years, for quite a while now, haven't they? We had a cholera pandemic in the 60s, Hong Kong flu in the 60s, SARS in 2000 to 2003, swine flu from 2009 to 2010, MERS from 2015, and it's still going on. And for 2019, we've had COVID. So, it's... and I think there's probably a few other things that I've missed from that list. I remember there being things in other years. And in the years where there weren't anything like that, there was a war, wasn't there? So, they kept us pretty busy.
Sometimes there was both.
Now, some conspiracy theorists say, and far be it for me to agree or disagree, that they're deliberately doing these things and throwing them at us. Now, I'm not saying whether that is true. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying that there does seem to be a pattern emerging. And these things get nastier and nastier and nastier. And I think, I don't know, I've got sort of feeling in my gut. I might be completely wrong, so don't quote me on it. That COVID was the last attempt. And it wasn't anywhere near as dangerous as they expected it to be, wanted it to be.
I would agree with you there, Jack. I think my gut feeling is pretty much the same, that I think that whatever was released was intended to do far more harm than it actually did, for whatever reason. We can only speculate as to why that particular idea has failed, and be obviously very grateful for it as well, that it didn't kill that many people. But I suspect that it was probably supposed to be much worse than it was.
Yeah. So maybe they'll chuck something else at us next year. Maybe they'll try a different tack.
Well, I've heard that he's supposed to be making a comeback in China. Is that correct? Have you heard that, Jack?
I've heard that, yeah. But I don't believe anything the mainstream media tell me.
You can't, can you?
I mean, after the last 2 years, after the experience of the last 2 years and all the lies, how can anybody believe in a word they're saying about Ukraine?
Exactly.
I don't believe a word.
No.
But anyway, whatever happens, and whether it's just the collapse of the banks or whatever it is, and I'm hoping it's going to be that, we've got to be prepared. And I go on in my book at some length, and I keep going on in this show and on my Friday show as well at some length, about setting up these small groups. Don't wait till it happens, like they did in Survivors, running around as individuals, as lone wolves for 6 months or so, until they all small groups that have met up. And then the other thing they had in that, which is something we got to think about, and something I, to be honest, hadn't thought about, was that there will be unscrupulous individuals and groups who will try to exploit the situation, and try to come to power through it, gain power over others.
All the sociopaths and the narcissists and the psychopaths. I mean, these people won't be interested in building a new earth. They will be, but for themselves, not for anyone else. Yeah. So there's always going to be conflict whatever the situation, I think there's always going to be a minority of people that are like that. So
the real situation on the ground that we could face, I'm not saying we're going to face, is going to be very, very different from the ones that's set out in that series. But it still gives us some good ideas and some good pointers of things that we can do.
It really does, yeah.
And we've got to start making friends and banding together and joining groups now, not after the asteroid hits or the banks collapse. Now, we've got to be prepared. This is why I'm doing my community garden. You're doing your community garden. Other people around the country that we know are doing, and around the world are doing community gardens. And I keep saying that's got to be the start. The community garden has to be the hub. And then we throw it open to people who don't do gardening but have other skills, as they did in the series. It's not just gardeners, it's not just farmers. It's people with all kinds of different skills. The last one I watched, there was a herbalist that they managed to recruit and then quickly lost again. But that's when I won't go into the details of that. So yeah. So I just wanted to look a little bit, and this is why I was hoping Karen was going to come on, and maybe she will later on. I don't know. But she's doing her own show later, so she might not mind off time. Karen was the shadow work therapist that I interviewed a few Fridays ago. On my
Did she have blonde hair?
Sorry?
Did she have blonde hair?
Yes, she has blonde hair.
Yeah, I know the one you mean. Yeah, she was very good. She was very good. So I really enjoyed that episode.
But I wanted her to look into this from a psychological point of view. But we could kick it around amongst ourselves as a couple of laymen, can't we?
You're definitely a couple of laymen. Yeah, I mean, shadow work is something. I think I first came across that expression through Michael Tazarian, who talks about it a lot. And then recently, it's been coming up more and more people like yourself are talking about it, how important it is to do the shadow work. And I've come across a couple of people recently that use tarot card to do shadow work as well, which is something that really has appealed to me. I can see that really working. So yeah, I've got somebody coming up on my channel in a couple of days that's going to talk about that. So yeah, right. So I'm just starting out on that road as we speak, kind of thing. I think you've got a bit more experience of it, haven't you, Jack?
Well, I read tarot myself, and I'm a great believer in it. I spent 6-7 years with my second wife. Can't remember exactly how many years. It wasn't that long. And she was very good. I mean, we used to do psychic fairs together, and she used to read. And I used to man the stall. So she used to say I was psychic as a lead brick, but there you go. But no, I find tarot very useful. Very, very useful.
Cool.
But I want to look into why some people are reluctant to make friends and join groups. Why there are lone wolves. And will the lone wolves survive? And I wanted to bring in my own personal experience here, because after my third marriage broke up, I very much became a loner. As some of you know, I lived on a canal boat for 9 years, continuously cruising, 2 weeks in each place. And I didn't want to make friends. I didn't want to reach out to anybody. I didn't want to speak to anybody. And I know what it's like. I'm not antisocial. But I was just overwhelmed. I worked with my third wife in a business that we ran from home. And we had 8 members of staff who worked in the annex that we set up as an office for them. So they were in and out all day. And my wife and I never got any time away from each other, which is probably one of the main reasons the marriage collapsed in the end. And I just went into one. I just never wanted to see anybody, talk to anybody ever again. And it was just overwhelmed. It was just that I had too many friends, friends and acquaintances, knocking on the door, ringing up, sending me emails all day. And it was all day. I mean, I did a 14-hour week, 14-hour day, a 16-hour day, 16-hour day. When we first started the business, just trying to get it off the ground. So I was having people coming in and out, and I was having the phone ringing all the time, and I never got any peace. And that drove a rift between my wife and I, because in the evening I just wanted space from her too, which is a shame. So I do empathize with people who are in that position, and also people who've had traumas in their life. A lot of deeply traumatized people walking around trying to pretend they're normal. And it's sad, it's tragic. Because
this is why it's so important to do the shadow work, Jack, because the new earth can't be created if we've got all these people walking about traumatized and are not really in touch with themselves or their emotions. It's never going to get off the ground if that's the case. So it's a really important part of the process, I think, is doing the shadow work on yourself.
I think it's an essential step. I think it's an essential step. I consider it to be an essential step.
Yeah,
it's something you just got to do. I mean, I've had several goes at it. I'm not saying I'm there yet.
Well, it's not easy, is it? It's a very, very challenging task, isn't it? I would imagine. I mean, I'm only just like kind of setting out as we speak, really, but I'm sure it's going to be very challenging.
And after doing a lot of work, will we first just say what Carl Jung said? A quote from Carl Jung. I'm doing this from memory. I haven't prepared it. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate.
Spot on. Yeah, I've seen that one. That's very, very true. Very valid. Yeah, absolutely.
And we bury this stuff when we're very, very small. Most of it happens when we're very, very small, and we learn how to survive in our family environment. And those strategies for surviving our family environment, which involve pushing down our feelings, and trying to fit in and trying not to get a clapper-near-all. Certainly when I was growing up. They're not good strategies for later life. But we've become habituated to these strategies and the feelings they produce. And this leads into Joe Dispenza's work, where he talks about the chemical soup that our cells are swimming in. Yeah? The chemicals in our blood, the chemical soup our cells are swimming in. And they get addicted to those chemicals. So if you spend a lot of time in chronic stress, or as I did as a young child, in chronic bleakness, we then try to recreate those familiar feelings, unconsciously, subconsciously. And no matter how much we try to be happy and loving and outgoing, deep down inside, we're on a cellular level, on an epigenetic level, we're still trying to create these familiar, uncomfortable feelings.
Wow. Yeah, that's very insightful, Jack, and I couldn't agree any more than that. Really, we just summed up most of the world's you just summed up most of the world's problems in the last 5 minutes. I think. Yeah, brilliant.
Well, I mean, I come up. I might as well spill the beans. There's no point in keeping secrets. When I was 3, I was taken into hospital, a long way from home, and my parents couldn't visit every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 1955, because I was born in 52.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been December 55. And I don't know if you have any idea what hospitals were like then. You've seen what they were like in the Carry On films, where they were a lot worse than that 10 years previous to that. Dark brown walls, 3-tone dark brown walls. A stink of disinfectant. Big, huge, open plan wards with nurses clumping up and down in their heels. Everything echoed. And I just had this memory of the bleakness of the place. It wasn't physically cold, I don't think, but it was emotionally cold. And I couldn't relate to any of the other kids. I didn't want to relate to any of the other kids. I just went inside. I retreated inside. And I was 3, but I remember it this clearly. I was 3 beds away from the door. And at visiting times, the parents used to, because they're set visiting times in those days, the parents used to rush through the door, flood through the door. And I'm there thinking, oh, Mummy and Daddy there, and Mummy and Daddy there. No, they're not there again. And, and although I've made it conscious, although I've brought it all up to the surface, I'm still trying to recreate those feelings. And I can't seem to break the habit of it. Maybe I need to do some more of Joe Dispenza's work.
So you still think that your that experience you had is affecting you to this day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, 60 years on.
Wow. Can you
years on, yeah.
Could you possibly elaborate on how it's still affecting you? Without going into too much personal detail, obviously. If you don't.
No, I don't mind sharing personal detail. I've had my life now. If somebody else can learn from my experiences rather than having to go through it themselves, then that's a win, isn't it? That's got to be a win. I just have this hankering, not consciously, this bleak feeling that I felt then. Bleak, abandoned feeling. And I keep creating it. I do stupid things that end up putting me back in the same position. And then I look back and I think, oh, you've done it again, Jack. And I can even be aware of it while I'm doing it. Now, there's another guy I did a lot of work with a few years ago. He's dead now. Bill Harris of The Secret.
I've not heard of him, no.
No. Did you watch The Secret?
If it was on the telly, then no, because I haven't got one.
No, I mean, this was years ago. It was a DVD that was going around about the law of attraction.
I don't think I did.
No. Anyway, for those who are watching or watching on the replay, who have watched The Secret, Bill Harris was the guy that was talking about having a gay student who was convinced he was being beaten up because he was gay. Anyway, I did a lot of work with him, and I forgot where I was going with this now.
We were talking about the feelings of abandonment.
Where was I going with it, Paul?
You feel abandoned, and you recreate the situations that you had when you was in hospital when you were 3. and you're aware of it.
What I was going to say is, according to Bill Harris, if you make the unconscious conscious and you do what you do with awareness, you can't keep on doing the same stupid things. Well, sorry, Bill, but I am doing it with awareness. I am still doing the same stupid things.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So have you had any experiences like that?
Not abandonment, I don't think. No, I don't think so. I was never ill as a kid. I lost a cousin when I was about 6 years old. My 8-year-old cousin, who was more like a brother to me, a big brother, he passed away of a brain tumor. That traumatized me a lot, but I'm not sure if that affects me to this day. I'm not sure. I have had an experienced trauma in my childhood, which I haven't got over, and I know that I need to deal with it. And hopefully, what I'm about to embark on will help me achieve that. But other than that, not really. No, I've been quite lucky, really. I think.
Do you want to share, or is it too personal?
It's a bit. Maybe I will one day, but at the moment, having not kind of really worked at it myself, and like we all do, I've kind of pushed it to the back and just forget about it, and it won't be a problem. And if it comes up, I'll just try and avoid it. Blah blah blah. So, but once I get stuck into it, I might talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I've been working with mine since I started when I was back in Spain. So what was that? 2012. I came back to England. So yeah, I've been doing it for a while. I remember doing a meditation once, about 6-7 years ago. And although I wasn't particularly trying to meditate on this particular subject, I was just taken into this room. And it was this big empty room. And in the corner, cowering in the corner, was this little shit man. That's all I can say. This little part of turd. But it was human. It was humanish. And I realized that was my shadow. Whereas in the past, I would have, if I'd have met anything like that in meditation, I'd probably have grabbed a sword and set about it. I just hugged it. And I hugged it until it melted into me. And we became one.
Wow.
And that was a big step forward for me. Because that's what you got to do. This is what Karen teaches. There's no good time to deny the shadow. You've got to integrate the shadow.
Is it always going to be an ongoing process, or does anyone ever actually get to the end of the process, if you like?
My own experience is that it's cyclical or spiral. You go full circle, you end up back where you started, and then you've got another whole load to clear at a deeper level. And then another whole load to clear at a deeper level. And then another whole load to clear at a deeper level. Where do you ever get to the bottom? I don't know.
You've just put me off, mate.
You've got years ahead of you to do it.
I'll be there forever, probably. No, I'm only joking. No, I'm definitely going to do it.
No, I'm going to put a plug here. She hasn't come on, but I'm going to give a plug for my friend Karen because I'm doing some proofreading for her. And she's about to launch a free introduction course to working with the shadow, shadow side.
I'll look out for that.
So when it's available, and I'm only just working on the first bit of it for her at the moment. She hasn't written it all yet, so it'll be a few months. I will mention it on this program again. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be signing up for that.
I'll say I would sign up for it, but I'm going to be doing it anyway by proofreading it. So I get the bonus. I proofread most of her stuff, so I get the bonus of seeing it all first.
Well, she came across as a very knowledgeable lady. I have to say that.
Yeah, she is. She's brilliant.
Very good.
Brilliant. So I think some of the reasons. I mean, I'm in two minds. I think some people will survive as lone wolves.
I suppose that depends on the lone wolves and how they've prepared for any oncoming sort of disaster situation. If they're well versed in how to survive.
Well, if I'm ever put in a survival situation, then all my vegetarianism would go out the window straight away, and I'll be out there trapping rabbits and shooting deer with a crossbow, because I'm not going to starve. And I know most of the plants to forage. The most important thing everyone can do now, apart from joining groups, is to get on foraging courses, learn how to forage.
Yeah, we're doing that with our community group, Jack. Yeah, Nicola, my wife, is very good at foraging, so she's taking out a group in our local woods this spring. So we're looking forward to that. Yeah, she's really clued up.
And you need to go out in every season, or in every month, ideally, to see what's available at that month, what it looks like in that month.
Well, even in midwinter.
Even in winter, there's stuff you can forage in winter.
Okay.
Mostly fungi that grow on trees, Jew's-ear and that kind of thing. We're not supposed to call it that anymore, are we? We're supposed to call it something else, but I can't keep up with all this PC nonsense. It was Jew's-ear when I was a boy, and it's so there you go. I'll probably get banned just for saying that. Make a change for getting banned for quoting government figures, won't it? But yeah, everybody get out there and learn how to forage.
There's a lot of really good information
online. Even if you're a vegetarian now, if you find yourself in a survival situation, you might have to give up on that, at least temporarily. I mean, the people who get together now and form community gardens, they're going to be laughing because they're all the normal food that we have, normal vegetables that we have today. But anyone who wants to be a lone wolf and maybe nomadic, then learn how to forage. And your crops can fail. So learn how to forage. And learn how to trap small game and how to prepare it.
Learn how to find water.
Learn how to find water and purify it. I mean, there's plenty of water knocking around, but it's how to purify it. And one of the episodes of Survivors, the whole community died because they just let fish out the brook.
That's right. I remember that one. Yeah.
Contaminated with heavy metals.
Ironically, the cook didn't, because she didn't like fish, so she survived. But everyone else died. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get together now. Let's start building these communities. Forget money and barter. Just be generous. In Survivors, everybody in each community has their own job, and obviously there's no exchange or barter between the members of the group, but they barter with other groups. And I suppose that's a halfway house, isn't it? Before the whole world goes free. And you got to have stuff to, even if it's not a formal barter situation, if it's a gift situation, you've got something to give. Somebody found a petrol tanker, didn't they, in the series? And
that's right. Yeah.
Turned up with hundreds of gallons of petrol to keep the cars and the machines running. And then they ended up bartering some of that.
And I don't want to spoil it for you too much, Jack, but that petrol gets them in a lot of trouble with some renegade people that try to kill them.
I've seen that one.
Oh, you've seen that as well.
I've seen that one, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
like I say, there will be, you know, in that kind of a situation, there will be some renegades and some not very nice characters that are, you know.
There will be, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
There will be the old what I call the 3D people, the third dimensional people, the age of Pisces people, the big fish eat littler fish people. It will try to screw you over. Not everybody will ascend to the age of Aquarius, to fifth dimensional consciousness.
Talking of which, I've heard in a couple of places over the last 2 or 3 days that we moved into the age of Aquarius in, I think it was December 2020. That's gaining more traction, that idea now, that we're actually here and we're in it. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah, if you know anything about astrology, basic astrology, we're on the cusp. We're not in one or the other. We're in the grey area between Pisces and Aquarius at the moment.
Okay.
In my opinion. But different people would give you different stories. But it's certainly begun. Did you see the excellent show I did with Mabi, Videotron.com?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. The one where she had the astronomy diagram. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
She gave a very, very in-depth reading. Very, very knowledgeable lady. A very, very beautiful soul. And she gave a very in-depth reading for the equinox. And also Pam Gregory. Do you follow her?
I know the name.
Right. Well, she's another very good.
Yes, she does readings as well. Yeah, I have seen her. Yeah, once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a very good astrologer, and she's given predictions for the next 3 months.
Okay.
You'll find it on the Love Not Fear Facebook group.
Can you remember them off the top of your head?
No. Yes, I can, but I wouldn't like to give them here because I've already heard it from the horse's mouth. Not that Pam Gregory is a horse, but just the expression. I've already heard it from her. Because, and I've already heard what the bee had to say as well. Not
about
me.
The next 3 months.
Well, about there's a. I'm not an experienced astrologer. I'm no good at it. I just don't do it. I've studied it, but it didn't sink in.
There's a lot to it. I've heard that the people that control this world take it extremely seriously, and only do certain things on certain dates when their astrologers tell them to or whatever. So it's taken very seriously in the higher echelons of society.
Yes, it is. Yeah. They know it's true. They've always known it's true.
I remember
at the risk of offending anybody, which I'm going to do now, that's why they had to give us a false religion that taught us it was evil.
Absolutely, yeah. I've heard that John Dee was Queen Elizabeth I's astrologer. He was quite famous back in the day. And it's my personal belief that our current Queen's astrologer was Jimmy Savile.
Oh,
yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
Well, without going into him too much, because he was such a disgusting person, but he was extremely well versed in the occult and black magic, and was extremely close to more than one members of the royal family. He acted as an intermediary between Charles and Diana, for example, when they were getting divorced. He was extremely close to the royal family, and it's I suppose, my supposition that he would have been in that role that John Dee was over 400 years ago.
Well, we certainly don't want to draw any links between astrology and black magic, do we? We don't want to put them in people's heads.
No, yeah, I'm sure it goes on, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they can. I'm sure they take everything and invert it and twist it and do nasty things with it. But there were people that get half a stick. Half like put 200 together and make 52 and a half. In fact, I've had to block somebody on Facebook recently who keeps on coming up with all this nonsense. That the caduceus is evil and all this kind of, because it's got snakes on it and all this kind of nonsense. I mean, it was the staff of Hermes, for crying out loud. Yeah, we don't want to sort of pander to those sort of people, do we?
No. I mean, there was that guy on Facebook a few months ago that I told you about that was really trying to persuade me, don't post anything that speaks badly of the government or promotes a different idea to what we live in today, because we are now into and I couldn't remember the word last time, and I'm trying to remember it again. It sounds like Kundalini, but it's not. Kuli Yaga, something like that. And I'll remember as soon as I finish today. I'll remember
Kabbalah.
Sorry?
Kabbalah?
No, not Kabbalah. No, it's an age of man that goes on for several thousand years. It's connected to Hinduism, Kali Yuga, something like that. And anyway, it's an age where we go into quite a dark period. And the basic idea was, he was telling me, it's not worth it. You can't win, but by saying what you're saying, you're making yourself a target for the powers that be once they've got their great reset into place. So you should stop now. Don't do it. Just be quiet and, excuse my language, fuck all that. No.
Yeah. Well,
there's so many things wrong with the world. I'm not going to be silent on it. I'm going to speak my mind.
I have my suspicions of anyone who tells me, sit back, don't do anything, it's all in hand.
Yeah, that as well.
Like the Q people.
The Q mob, yeah, Q mob. Just sit back. It's all a movie. Eat some popcorn and enjoy yourself. I don't think so.
Well, yes, it is. It is a movie. It's a Matrix. It's a Matrix within a Matrix. I did a video about that a few months ago. But we've still got to play our part. It's a video game, but it's an interactive video game, and we've still got to play our part.
We've got to save ourselves. Yeah,
we can't just sit back and let somebody else do it for us. Because,
and of course, the Q people expected Donald Trump to save them, and how did that work out? Not very well.
Well, they still think he's on the case, which he may well be.
I think he's too busy. I think he's too busy promoting jabs and 5G to be on the case. But there we are.
But anyone who says don't do anything, leave it to the experts. I'm thinking, what's the agenda? Why are they saying that? Why don't they want us to do anything?
Exactly. Yeah, that was my first thought. So I told him to get lost in a polite way.
Yeah, because I'm afraid I'm a very suspicious individual.
Well, I think it's it's something that we need to have. If somebody's telling us to do something, we need to think about it first before we just jump into it like a lemming.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Is Teresa going to be coming back on with us?
Well, I'm sure she will be, but when that is, I'm not sure, because I can't give away too much personal information, but she has an issue with her back at the moment, and also some family stuff going on. So I'll just leave that there. But she will be back, but she's just dealing with personal stuff at the moment.
When's her birthday?
I do know this. I think it's in May. Right.
But I
can't remember the date.
Because I've decided what I'm buying her.
Oh, right.
I'm buying her a clip-on microphone.
Oh, are you? Why can't I have one?
Definitely. No, you don't need one, mate.
Oh, right then.
She definitely needs a clip-on microphone.
I don't want a clip-on microphone. I'm getting one of those big things that stand up, you know, like a DJ's proper microphone. I'm getting one next month. So
one of these.
Yeah, exactly like that. You should have yours on display. You look for business when you've got one of those, you know. Yeah, it's
I
like
could
a bit.
put it there and hide my ugly face, couldn't I?
It looks no comment, no comment. But it's a bit retro-y, but I think it looks the business. So I'm getting one of those in a couple of weeks.
Good.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I'm talking to you on my laptop at the moment, but the microphone on the laptop that I've got seems to be really good. So, but I think it's kind of expected now that you have a microphone if you're doing this business.
Well, the show I did with Teresa a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, it was a lovely show, and you know, she was brilliant. She was absolutely
she was very good.
She was wonderful. I don't know whether you saw it, but she was brilliant.
Yeah, I watched it live, mate.
But her built-in microphone was picking up a computer fan.
There was a background kind of a whooshy noise, wasn't there? I remember. Yeah, I did mention that. I thought it might be she might have a bad connection because of the room she was in her house.
It was the fan she was picking up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So she needs just a 15 quid clip-on microphone.
Yeah.
So I should buy one of those for her birthday.
Yeah. She'll look like Britney Spears, won't she, a little bit?
Let me have her address and I'll send it to her.
Yeah, I'll pass that on, mate.
Yeah. So what else we got to talk about?
What else we got to talk about? Like I say, really, I'm just about to embark on some shadow work and some tarot. I've got some guests on my channel coming up that are kind of linked into that. You know, that's their line of expertise, so to speak. So I'm very excited to be embarking upon that. I've got a new product to my business coming out today, Black Cohosh, which is a herb that's been very, very successful at helping women with the menopause. So that's I'm very hopeful that that's going to help a lot of my customers. And obviously at the moment, I'm just trying to get down to the allotment more, getting down to the garden because things are really starting to take place. So I'm a busy bee, mate. Anyway, I'm a very busy bee at the moment. But it's all good.
Yeah, well, I will be again once I'm back on my feet.
Yeah,
I'm not feeling that bad in myself.
Take your vitamin C.
Sorry?
Take your vitamin C, Jack. Don't forget.
Yeah, I take loads of it. Yeah. No, I'm not feeling that bad in myself. I just don't want to be spreading my germs all over the place.
Well, yeah, I'm still undecided about all that. You know, it's you know, the germ terrain theory business and all that. I'm not really sure that happens, but as I say, I'm on the fence. I don't know. You know, I'm not an expert, but there's a lot of problems with the virus theory. And leave it there.
I agree with you. Yeah, but my personal experience of that really, really bad flu I had about 4 or 5 years ago now, when I was in Oslo.
Oslo, yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
And I arrived with it. I probably picked it up on the plane. I started to show symptoms within about 3 days of arriving.
Right.
And 3 days later, everybody else in the house was down with it.
Okay.
So that does tend to suggest they caught it from me.
Alternatively, I would suggest that you got on the plane. Were you going on holiday at the time? Was it a holiday?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is very common. And I've experienced this as well. The same thing has happened to me a few years ago, where you get on the plane, you know, you're leaving all your troubles and your stresses and your anxieties, whatever they might be work-wise, behind you. You get on the plane, you sit there, you think, oh, I've made it. We're going on holiday. And your body goes, great. And you have a massive purge because your body has been holding on to this stuff for ages because you're trying to, you know, work and do day-to-day stuff and be busy. You've got to be busy, you've got to make money, look after the family, etc. And so your body holds back, and then you rest. And as soon as you rest, and that's very common. That happens a lot. It's happened to me. It may have happened to you.
So why did it happen to them 3
That's
days
another
after I
subject. I
left?
mean, that's a very interesting thing that I don't properly understand yet. But is it that they're picking up on your kind of vibration, that they're around you and they're picking up on something without actually catching something? I don't know. But what I'm saying about people when they go on holiday and they suddenly become ill, that's very common. That is very common. It could be, I don't know, it could be the air conditioning on the plane, perhaps, a recycled air, but my favourite idea is the one I've suggested. I think that makes a lot of sense. Just an idea.
Yeah, could be. Anyway, I'm not taking any risks. I'm not going to have the whole group going down with it just because I've got it.
No. So what I would suggest, if anyone, including yourself, if anyone comes down, or like when they feel, you get that moment when you think, oh no, I think I'm getting ill. I can feel symptoms. There's something not right. The minute that happens, you take 5 grams of ascorbic acid, vitamin C, straight away, clean water, and you repeat that process every hour until the symptoms stop, or until you need to rush for the toilet. And if that happens, then you wait till your tummy's finished gurgling or whatever, and then you start up again. And normally, in my experience of either doing it, which was not been for a long time now, or suggesting it to other people, it works within a few hours every single time. So
it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went and got some garlic yesterday, and
Yeah, garlic is very good for immunity.
Yeah,
Garlic is great. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going down to Glastonbury.
Yeah, I know. I'm made up for you, mate. It's one of the best places in the world.
House sitting for some friends.
Lovely.
Do you know John and Lizzie?
I've never met them, though, but I know you've talked about them before. Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to doing that.
I bet. Jealous, mate.
So we'll be doing the shows from there for a couple of weeks.
That'll be good. I'll be even more jealous.
I'll be doing it from their garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry you couldn't get down this week.
Yeah, car trouble, mate. To be honest, car trouble and other things, and it just wasn't a good time. So we're saving up because I won a free night. So we're gonna get another night, and then we're gonna go over solstice. Hopefully, that's the plan. So it should be a very colourful, exciting environment at solstice, Glastonbury, I would imagine. So that'd be the best time to go.
Well, you have to go at the tour and see the sun come up behind the.
Yeah, I know. The first time I ever went up the tour, it was magical because I went up the way you're supposed to go up, round and around, as opposed to up the path. Met a few sheep along the way, real sheep, not people in. Sorry,
We don't call them that on this show.
Yeah, sorry.
We respect everybody.
Yeah. But the wonderful thing about it was my first time, and as I got up there, the sun was setting. It was clear blue skies, and it was in the summer, and it was just magic. It was blew me away. I didn't want to get down again. And funnily enough, the second time I went up the tour, I got quite bad vertigo, which I'd never experienced before. But
yeah, you told me, yeah.
Yeah, if you've never been to Glastonbury before and seen the tour, when you go there, you don't appreciate the size of it and how big it is until you actually go. It's huge and it's really high up. It's a proper climb. And but there's also strange elements, I think, strange energies, without wanting to sound too new agey about it. When you're on the tour, there are tunnels under there. There are all sorts of stories about what's under the tour, and whether I was picking up on that as I climbed it the second time, I don't know, but whether I was misinterpreting vertigo for something else, quite possible. But yeah, I didn't enjoy it the second time, and I couldn't make it all the way to the top. But I've been up since then, and I'm fine again. So, but that was a funny experience. Just not nice.
I've been up both sides, so
I haven't done that yet. Yeah.
Yeah. I got some lovely photographs the first time I was up there.
I think I've seen a few. They're really good. Yeah.
I didn't take the camera the second time, but the first time I got some lovely pictures.
Yeah, the views are amazing, aren't they? The views you can see just for miles and miles and miles. And yeah, one of the first things I noticed when I got to the top the first time was you can see at least 5 or 6 other what appear to be man-made hills, man-made structures, large kind of, I'm trying to think the right word now, but I saw 5 or 6 other ones as well. Whether I was seeing things or not, I don't know. But the more I look into ancient history, the more I think that there are huge man-made structures and pyramids and all sorts under the ground that we don't know about.
Probably,
and we already know that the pyramid culture was a global culture now, because there's pyramids in China, Bosnia, South America, North Africa, Europe, Silbury Hill in this country, Glastonbury Tor. So it was a global culture. And
how did they all get the idea?
Yeah, and how did they all communicate that idea as well, and bring it into fruition, like with building those huge structures with what we're told is very limited sources and expertise at the time. I mean, it doesn't add up at all. It's
it doesn't. No.
History, and particularly ancient history, is a massive lie. Massive lie. And it's just fascinating to go to those places knowing that, and just kind of going by your intuition, by your inner voice, and making your own mind up on these things. That's probably my favourite thing to do in the world.
I mean, look at how's it pronounced? Gaddafi Tepe?
Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe, yeah.
I mean, that was there was supposed to only be Stone Age people in the area at the time that was built.
9000 BC.
Absolutely impossible.
Yeah, 5,000 years before the official dating of Stonehenge, and some of the stones are just as big, and the carvings on them are amazing. And funnily enough, that is 15 kilometers away from Sanliurfa in Turkey, which was 2,000 years ago, according to Ralph Ellis, the hometown of Jesus Christ. So Jesus only lived a stone's throw away from there as well. And there's conjecture that it wasn't covered up at the time, that it's the covering up of it, because they found it underground. But there's now an idea that it was actually covered up fairly recently in its history for some reason.
Okay.
So it's a,
why that would have been, yeah.
Who knows? It's a fascinating place. Love to go there one day.
Yeah, I'd love to go there. I mean, I'm a big follower of I've forgotten his name now. Who am I thinking of?
Graham Hancock.
Graham Hancock, yeah.
How did I guess that? That's amazing.
There you go. Telepathy.
Yes. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Graham Hancock. Yeah, he's. I've still not read one of his books yet, but I've watched many of his lectures on YouTube, and he's very, very interesting guy. Done a lot of interesting research into other states, ayahuasca, mushrooms, and all that kind of thing, and ancient Egypt, obviously, as well.
Yeah, he's a very, very knowledgeable guy.
Very much so. Very much so. I think he started out a bit like you, Jack. I think he was originally a journalist and started to write books, as you've done. And so similar stories in a way.
And then he went out and actually did the research on the ground.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And of course, he found those pyramids off the coast of Japan underwater. And if you've seen the pictures of that,
I have, yeah.
Biologists today still say that's all naturally forming, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Because if you see this, I mean, it's obviously a man-made structure.
Well, I can't see any way that can be a natural formation.
Have you seen the Giant's Dance in Ireland? The Giant's Dance, not the Giant's Dance, the Giant's Causeway. The Giant's Causeway is well.
Well, that's natural. That's basalt.
Well, I'm not so sure.
Basalt forms like that. Basalt forms like that.
That's what they say, and you could be right. I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong or anything, but my gut tells me there's something more going on there. But who knows?
Maybe it was two big giants having a fight.
Yeah, possibly, mate. Possibly. Well,
Stonehenge was a way to kick each other's teeth in, but I know.
The old name for Stonehenge was the Giant's Dance, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, it was the Giant's Dance. But I believe my guest on Thursday on my channel, Maria Wheatley, thinks it was built by people with elongated skulls, And they've actually discovered, or she discovered, an elongated skull buried close to Stonehenge. So I suppose the argument there would be whether the head was bound or whether they were born that way. But
there's so much confusion because people, because it became my interpretation. This is just my interpretation. Is that the ruling class naturally had cone heads. And then people started binding their kids to give them those shaped heads in order to emulate the ruling class.
The gods, as they saw them,
The gods, as they call them. The ruling class may not have been from this planet. I'm not saying they weren't. I'm saying they may not have been.
It would certainly explain an awful lot.
Yeah. Because there's two big differences. There's the sutures, the stitches, the way the skulls mends together as it grows, that are different. And it's the actual size of the skulls, the actual cubic centimeters of the brain space, the brain cavities, are much larger in the natural ones than in the bound ones. So there's obviously two quite different things going on here. And to say that, oh no, we know it was done by binding, it's just nonsense because that only accounts for half the specimens.
Yeah, there's a guy on YouTube called Brian Forster that I think I've mentioned before on this channel. And he has discovered elongated skulls. And they've even got museums in Bolivia and I think Peru of in a like a glass kind of cabinet, you can see these people, and there's even like full skeletons with the elongated skulls of children about 3 years old that have died in infancy, and he's proved that the heads weren't bound in any way at all, that they're naturally like that. So that would be some sort of subspecies of humans, or as you say, possibly aliens or humans with alien DNA, perhaps.
I think I'm correct in saying, I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'm correct in saying that they've actually found a conehead fetus.
Right.
So that's absolutely could not have been bound, could it, in the womb? No.
Yeah, definitely. So there's definitely something going on there with that.
We have well, you put one of them on one of your programs that you did with Ralph Ellis, an elongated skull from one of the Egyptian pharaohs.
That's right. I think it was Ramses II.
Ramses II, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And his wife also was a conehead.
Yeah, and they all had ginger hair as well, interestingly.
Yeah. So it's either a subspecies, an unknown subspecies of Homo sapien, or they're not from this world.
Or maybe they're descendants of a species that weren't from this world. You know, who knows? Yeah,
well, they could be, as you say, they could be hybrids, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Well, we've gone well over, so great having you back, my friend.
I've really enjoyed it, mate. I've really enjoyed it. I'm glad to be back, and I should be back with you next week.
Yeah, great.
All right then.
Cheers now.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks, everyone.